Again, thank you all for coming. My name is Steve Thomas, on the board of the Tea Party. We have also with us here our president,
Heather.
And first of all, we'd like to introduce Stephen Frank, our moderator. Stephen, would you like to give us a little wave and everybody give us applause here? And we also like to welcome our two candidates, Chris Bishop and Tom Watson. And at this point, we'd like to ask Gretchen Pfaff to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So you all please stand.
You'll direct your attention to the flag back here. I know there's a lot to choose from. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may be seated.
The idea of candidates debating goes back to the earliest days of our republic. Candidates who were truly wanting the vote of the people would go into the town square at a certain time, and people would come and go, and for hours and hours they would go at it. So we'll all go out that way, the town square is that way, we'll walk like the occupiers, and we could do it the old-fashioned way, or we could enjoy, imagine we are in the Ronald Reagan room, and that has to say something. This is a great day in America, one day less of Obama as president. And I want you to note that both the candidates who are here today are real men. Tom has 2 drinks next to him. Chris has 3 drinks. They are ready for you. So, let me explain what the rules are. They're very simple. Each candidate will give 4 minutes opening. Tell us why they're running for Congress. Then I will ask questions. One candidate will get a question and answer for 2 minutes. The response for half a minute. Then the next candidate, the next question, will go to this candidate who will be asked a question and will answer for 2 minutes. And this candidate will respond in half a minute. And then at the closing, we will have a 3-minute closing from each candidate. We've already done the coin flip and all of that stuff, so we know who's going when. And we have seated dead center, so both candidates can see the gentleman. We have Homer. Homer, hold up your card, so everyone, and then the other side. So the candidates will know when it's time to. And for those who don't, I brought a whip with me, so we do mean the time frame. This is a serious matter. This district, the coast of Central California, has been represented by Nancy Pelosi for too long. Oh, the AKA is Lois Capps. This district has been represented by somebody that has more concern about Acorn, the occupiers, than the people of this community. And thanks to the redistricting, or not thanks to it, we have a real opportunity of electing a Republican, a constitutionalist, and somebody that believes that the people count, not government. And so this is your opportunity, probably the first one for this election cycle, of a forum and a debate between 2 of the candidates. I'm sure it won't be the last, but the Santa Barbara Tea Party has been in the forefront of trying to change the representation in Washington for a long time, and this is your opportunity to make that change next November. But first we have to make a decision as to who is going to represent us against Lois Capps. Chris Mitchum, I don't like the formality of Christopher. Chris Mitchum was our Republican nominee for Assembly in 1998 against Taxon Jackson, and lost by a very narrow margin, and that's because you guys didn't walk enough precincts. He walked, where were you? He's been active in the motion picture industry, on the board of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences for many years, former first vice president of the Screen Actors Guild, involved locally in a lot of community activities, including fundraising to get money for the Santa Barbara Police Department Police Athletic League and Gang Program, as well as $1 million to the Ventura Police Department for their needs. Let me ask you to welcome Chris Mitchell.
Thank you, Steve. To start off, I'd like to thank Steve and the Santa Barbara Tea Party for putting this together, for all of you for being here. The question at hand here is, why am I running for office? And I think it's better asked, why aren't you running for something? In 2008, this country suffered a bloodless coup when socialists took over 2 of our 3 branches of government. They've used their positions to undo the very form of government that got them elected to office. Fortunately, our forefathers built into our Constitution a counter-revolution. It's called an election that happens every 2 years. We're using ballots instead of bullets. We can take this country back, and we have to take it back in 2012, or I fear that America as we know it is lost. In 1964, another actor, a guy by the name of Ronald Reagan, spoke at the Republican National Convention on behalf of Senator Barry Goldwater. In that speech, he said, in part, "You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We will preserve for our children, this is the last best hope of mankind. We will sentence them to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. If we fail, at least let them say that we justified our brief moment here. We did all that could be done." Was you remember LBJ won that race? He enacted the Great Society and initiated the biggest entitlement program in U.S. history, which has us at the edge of that black abyss today. I am running so that my children and my children's children can say of me, he did all that could be done. And I challenge everyone here to do all that you can do, because 2012 is very, very important for this nation. If you work hard, do everything that you can do, support your candidate, donate to them, give them time, give them money, walk precincts, get people out to vote on election day. If you do everything that can be done, we not only can, but we will take America back. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Tom Watson. He was a candidate for Congress in 2010. He is the co-owner of Agile RF, which designs and manufactures wireless components for cellular handsets and advanced antennas. He's a 3rd-generation naval officer, and he's a graduate of the Naval Academy. He has lived here in the district, 23rd District, for 13 years, and I now present you Tom Watson.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to see so many friendly faces here. It's been a while since some of us have seen each other. And I'd like to thank Steve and Chris for participating in the Santa Barbara Tea Party for putting this together. But mostly for all of you taking the time out of your busy lives to come and join this exercise in participatory democracy. You heard from my background, I'm not a career politician. The last time I ran, I didn't run for anything, and I never thought in a million years I would do something like this. I'm a retired naval officer and an entrepreneur, but I ran because I felt that I needed to do my part to try and restore our union to its full promise. As Chris said, we're in deep, deep trouble. This is a great country. It's the greatest country in the history of mankind, and our Constitution is only 17 pages long, and it's the most significant political document in the history of mankind, and certainly in the history of human liberty. But we are in great, great peril. And I fear if we do not change course in a radical way and do it soon, we are going to destroy our country for future generations. I took an oath to the Constitution as a young man, and that's a lifelong oath. And in my opinion, our Constitution has never needed more defending than it does right now. Had we followed our Constitution, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in now. But unfortunately, we have a government that doesn't seem to care less about what our Constitution says. They're completely out of control, they're spending money that we don't have, and they're taking our liberties in the process. They seem to think that we work for them instead of the other way around. They seem to think our money is their money, and they're nice to let us keep a little bit of it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not being governed, we're being ruled. These past couple of years, we've been ruled by a group of elite, out-of-touch busybodies that seem to think they know best about everything. From their cloistered area inside the Beltway, they want to tell us what kind of light bulbs we can use, what kind of toilets we can use, what kind of health care we can have, what kind of loans we can take, what kind of energy we're going to have to use. We're at a point where we have a government that thinks they can compel a private citizen to purchase a private product, in this case being health insurance. I have news for them. The federal government has no such general police powers to enact such rules for the public good. The 10th Amendment is very clear on that. I mean, think about this. If you have a federal government that can force you to buy a product, what can't they force you to do? They can make us do pretty much anything. The bottom line of what we've witnessed these past couple of years is that our government has become a giant anchor around our ankles when we're engaged in an international sprint. They no longer are a partner of our business community and of the people anymore. They become an adversary, in my opinion, unless, of course, you're one of their cronies. If we don't change the direction of this country soon and get this spending under control, we're going to be the first generation in the history of this country that's going to leave it in a worse situation than when we received it. And it absolutely breaks my heart to look at what we're doing to future generations and my young son. We're stealing from our children and our grandchildren to fund our current spending ambitions. And I'm sorry, but that is just immoral. We have a government that takes too much, spends too much, they try to do too much, and they do it pretty much poorly for the most part. We can do so much better. We know exactly what we need to do in this country because we've done it in the past, and it's quite simple. And it's all we need to do is return to the principles that made this country great in the first place: individual liberty, free market entrepreneurial capitalism, and limited government. So that's why I'm running, is to do my little part that I can to try and return this country back to the principles that made us great. It's my duty, and it's all of our duties to do whatever we can to save this country. And as Ronald Reagan said, the last best hope of man on earth. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just to alert you, the Secretary of the Treasury today made the notice, and this is the good news, is that the deficit for the year 2010-2011 was $1.299 trillion. That's the good news. The bad news is the Treasury Department has also announced that for the next 8 years, the deficit will be a minimum of $1 trillion a year. That's what we have to look forward to under the current situation. So that creates the issue of tax policy, because somebody's going to have to pay for this, and there may be different ways of doing it. We know we have the income tax now, the flat tax, the fair tax, somebody's 999 tax. I asked first, Mr. Mitchell, what would your tax policy be?
Thank you, Steve. I actually lean very heavily towards the flat tax. I lived in Spain for 3 years. And when I was living there, it's under Generalissimo Franco, who was that oddly, he was a benevolent dictator. And Spain had a 14% flat tax, but it was graduated. The first 100,000 pesetas, you paid nothing. Nobody paid anything on the first 100,000 pesetas. Next 500,000, everybody paid 14%. But the next 500,000 after that, everybody paid 13 3/4, and after that 13 1/2, and after that 13 1/4, till it got down to 10% and it flattened out, which actually encouraged you to go out and make